This week in games, PlayStation shuts down one of its more interesting studios, a Star Wars RTS is on the horizon, and let's talk about that Phil Spencer interview along with our Star Wars Jedi Survivor review. This is the Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 146. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and visually confusing co-host, Connor Elliott. Say hello to the people.
You just called me ugly.
That's not what I said. No, that's not what I said, you bastard.
See, this is the kind of relationship we have. I come here, and I'm just, sitting here, minding my own business, and he just thinks he can just insult me with whatever word can come to his mind.
It was very much Connor. Very much it was just the fact that it's a visual podcast, which you can watch over at youtube.com/@2pennygames, or listen to it on mainstream podcast services of your choice every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Time. But if it's a visual thing and we're starting it out and this is people's first time listening or watching to the show, which it usually is because we're very small creators, you miming the words along is visually confusing.
It is. Since every person who watches things like this deserves the extra little treat. That's what they get.
That's true. youtube.com/@2pennygames. You can also follow us on twitch.tv/2pennygames and on TikTok, the full name 2pennygames. We're also on Twitter @2pennygames. If you didn't know, this is the Two Penny Games cast, in which me and Connor, we sit down to you every week, Monday, 8 a.m. Central Time, and we give you the new news you need to know concerning the video game industry. We each come to you with two topics, 2 pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. You can also watch this show live along with every other recording we do over at twitch.tv/2pennygames on Sunday, ranging from about 4 p.m. to 7 or 8, depending on whenever we get this bad boy done, because it's a big block of shows of recording and so forth, like the Piggy Bank, which comes out every Saturday, the Gamescast every Monday, like I've already said, and reviews, which will be tied to the end of this episode, our Star Wars Jedi Survivor review, which will be tied to the end of this episode, like I just said. But you can also find it standalone over at youtube.com/@2pennygames, just on YouTube, not on the podcast services. Podcast services, you gotta listen to whatever random episode it's attached to at the time. So there you go. There's that.
So sad.
Connor, you and I have both been playing Jedi Survivor, and I'm very excited to talk to you about that. But let's go ahead and just jump straight into the news. Sir, we've got a very interesting, a very different news week this week, and I'm very excited to dive into some of it with you. But first, this is the Two Penny Games cast, in which we talk about the news in the video game industry, and as much as that news usually circulates around lots of games, lots of fun times, lots of cool things happening in the industry, more often than any of us would like, it involves some sad stuff in the industry. Now, this first story, my first penny of the day, I wouldn't say is a terrible story. It's not like, I don't think people are getting screwed. I think it's just nature of business, especially in the creative art form. But pulling a Eurogamer article from Matt Wales, PlayStation's Concrete Genie studio Pixelopus is shutting down. Pixelopus, the PlayStation Studios developer behind Concrete Genie, is shutting down. Based in San Mateo, California, Pixelopus was established with the express purpose of giving young developers a start in the industry and was formally announced as a new internal Sony studio in 2014. It would go on to release its first game, The Striking Entwined, that same year. While Pixelopus's initial outing received a mixed critical reception, its follow-up title, Concrete Genie, fared much better in 2019. It was nominated for a BAFTA Artistic Achievement Award, and Eurogamer called it, quote, a small, perfectly formed adventure. In 2021, Pixelopus was reported to be developing a new PlayStation 5 title in collaboration with Sony Pictures Animation. Little has been heard of the project since then, but now the studio has announced its adventure has come to an end. Quote, as we look to new futures, it continues in a statement announcing the news. quote, "We wanted to say a heartfelt thank you to the millions of passionate players who have supported us and our mission to make beautiful, imaginative games with heart. We are so grateful." Sony, for its part, told IGN, quote, "PlayStation Studios regularly evaluates its portfolio and the status of studio projects to ensure they meet the organization's short and long-term strategic objectives as part of a recent review process. It has been decided that Pixelopus will close on June 2nd. So, Pixelopus, makers of Concrete Genie, which was a game I played back in 2019 for quite a few hours and enjoyed it quite a bit. I never beat it, but it was a really beautiful, really like creative game that I thought was really, really cute and charming, and is a game that I still look back on fondly years later. And this is sort of in corroboration with a lot of moves on Sony's part, PlayStation's part, where they seem to just be siloing themselves into these big event games, you know, and we are seemingly see them take less chances. You know, they announced a few weeks ago Dreams, which was a user generated content based video game on the PlayStation 4, is getting shut down. And, you know, alongside this announcement, PlayStation Studios is just becoming less and less interesting for my part. Like, they don't make a lot of really cool creative choices anymore. I think back on anything in this new PlayStation 5 generation, the most interesting smaller game that they've made so far is Sackboy: A Big Adventure, which is a fun game, charming game. Really like that game. And with the seemingly dead on arrival PlayStation VR 2, which was the only other outlet in which PlayStation Studios seemed to actually be doing creative things, out of the box things you wouldn't expect. We are just in an era of PlayStation right now where they only want to give you these big budget AAA Hollywood blockbuster video games, which are great. I love God of War Ragnarok. I had a good time with my time with Horizon Forbidden West. I'm eagerly anticipating Spider-Man 2 later this year. But, you know, games like Concrete Genie are the ones that I've really, really enjoyed in between those big landmark key titles that PlayStation just doesn't seem interested to give us anymore. And I think that's really, really sad. And I don't think that's, I don't think it's right personally, but, you know, it's PlayStation. They can run their business how they choose to do. I assume whatever game they were working on, if it's working with Sony Animation, I would assume it was like maybe a Spider-Verse game, like a Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse game of some sort. That would kind of fit their art style and how sort of Concrete Genie moved. I could see if you ramp that up a little bit, you could get a neat little linear Spider-Man game with really creative level design or something and a really cool art style. But obviously we'll never see what that was to be, if that was that at all. And if I were to guess, the game just wasn't coming together. It just wasn't, you know, completing whatever vision Sony higher ups had for that game. And so they said, you know what, this studio isn't giving us what we need. It's time to just close it, which is unfortunate, but it's part of business no matter where you go. Connor, do you have any perspective on this yourself?
You know, I'm not very aware of this studio. I never honestly heard of Concrete Genie until I found out this studio was shutting
I've
down.
recommended it to you a couple times, but you don't be listening to me, so.
Oh, well, I can't. I would say no, but apparently I was not. But, you know, at least it's not like some of the other stories we see of it's a studio that, you know, doesn't have to shutting down because, you know, it was acquired by some big company like PlayStation or Sony or Microsoft or whatever, and it just didn't pan out for them, and they kind of just screw up a company, which has happened in the past, but it's just an unfortunate side of business this year. And they obviously haven't really been putting out enough to justify, you know, keeping them around, even if they were not just doing, you know, the big games, if they were still being a little bit more interesting with the games they make. I don't know if that would have really changed anything based off whether this, you know, based on the fact they never really came up with anything after Concrete Genie. So it's sad, but hopefully these people are able to find a employment elsewhere, possibly within Sony as well, or go on to create other games elsewhere.
Indeed. I have officially, ladies and gentlemen, put Concrete Genie into the Game Club doc. So, by the glory and the mercy of the wheel, we will be playing Concrete Genie one day. But that day is so far away. Let's talk about the here and the now and the possible future. Connor, with your first penny of the day, our second topic, go ahead and take it away for me, my big man.
I hope I can get through this without sneezing, because I just now felt the sneeze coming on.
You've had some big allergy problems going on today, so let's hope they grant you some mercy.
All right. PlayStationLifestyle.net is where we're pulling this story from. Star Wars RTS reportedly in development. This is by Michael Leary. Respawn Entertainment and Bit Reactor are working together to develop a strategy game set in the Star Wars universe. However, it seems as though that isn't the only Star Wars RTS in development. Video Game Chronicle editor Andy Robinson revealed as much on Twitter. I'll read you the tweets saying he was replying to somebody who had asked, do you know what? I had completely forgotten that one was in production. Bit Reactor and Respawn, right? The one I was thinking of hasn't been announced. Wink. That was from Andy Robinson. But Video Games Chronicle editor Andy Robinson revealed as much on Twitter. He noted that players should not have to wait long to find out about a Star Wars RTS from a big studio. When asked if it was the aforementioned Respawn and Bit Reactor game, he simply stated that the one he was thinking of hadn't been announced. And since it hasn't been announced, it's unclear what team is behind it, when it would come out, what platforms it would be on, or if it even exists. It was reported that Disney wants a Star Wars game out every 6 months. So if true, Disney would need a stable of all sorts of titles. Possibly even 2 strategy games to hit that target. There have been other Star Wars RTS games in the past, like Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds Saga and Star Wars Empire at War. Fireaxis Games is one of the biggest modern strategy game studios, which would fit Robinson's description. But that team is currently making a new civilization. Creative Assembly is another strategy-focused team, and it is currently working on Hyenas, which is ironically a first-person shooter. So one of the things we've always talked about with Star Wars games is, you particularly, Tavin, is there's a wide breadth of stuff you could do with the Star Wars brand. You can do horror, you could do RTS, which is something that you had brought up before. Obviously, we get a lot of action-adventure games and multiplayer games, usually how Star Wars shows itself to try and get that big player base. But on RTS games, they're getting somewhere now. They're going in the right direction. We're getting
it seems a strategy game and an RTS game of some kind. That excites me very much so. You know, we covered the Respawn deal when they announced the other games under Respawn. I forget, was Jedi Survivor one of those? I don't remember.
I want to say it was.
I want to say it was as well, but I could be mistaken there. So obviously we've seen that one. We've got a first person shooter coming from Respawn, which I am excited about because I would like a video game where I play as someone who isn't holding a lightsaber in the Star Wars universe. That would be kind of neat because it's been a very long time since we've gotten one of those.
Did you play Republic Commando?
The opening hour or two. I liked it. It was one of those that I was like, I had downtime, so I checked it out, and it's been installed on my PlayStation ever since because it's a small game data-wise, so it doesn't take up much space on my hard drive, and I keep going, I really want to play that. I really need to get back to that every time I see it on my dashboard. So, I mean, I'm wanting to play that again. And then, obviously, the one with Bit Reactor, which we know very little about. But I think strategy and RTS games, like, that just kind of makes sense with Star Wars. It's big galactic wars, big factions, big teams, big landscape battles that like just kind of just makes sense in the Star Wars universe, you know? And you know, as you said, I've been on this podcast many times saying, yo, where's the diversity in Star Wars video games? Star Wars and video games are bread and butter. Those two go together so well. And back in the early 2000s and in the 90s, we had a plethora of Star Wars games that like spanned almost every single genre you can think of. There were platformers, there were first-person shooters, there were third-person shooters, there were action-adventure games, there were puzzle games, there were RTS games, flight sim games. And now it's really just first-person shooters, multiplayer games, and action-adventure games. And it's as much as I appreciate that. You know, we're about to go review Jedi Survivor here in a few minutes, but and so you can get my thoughts on the new one. And as much as I'm enjoying that, I like that. I like the games that have come out. We could use some more stuff, man. Star Wars is big enough and wide enough of a galaxy to where we can use more. So this excites me. This I'm very, very excited to see more about. I don't know what they're going to give us, but whatever they do end up giving us, I'm hoping for a really good time with that. Oh, you're muted, my friend.
Apologies. The caveat to this is it's a Star Wars game, and Star Wars is just notoriously enjoyed by people that have bad opinions on things. So unfortunately,
you're
the
such a
people
hater.
who make the games might be in the same position. So we should always take these things with a grain of salt because it is Star Wars, and if you like it, you're a nerd. Yes?
Bite me.
Agrees?
You know, just fucking bite me. You pretentious little fucking dweeb. You know what I mean? Star Wars is mainstream. I don't like it because everybody else likes it. Where's my Lord of the Rings video games? There hasn't been a good Lord of the Rings video game since 2014, Connor. 2014, there hasn't been a good Lord of the Rings video game. And what was the one before then? 2007? Who gives a shit about Lord of the Rings? The franchise sucks. It's boring. Nobody cares. How's that fucking Gollum game treating you, Connor? You gonna go play Gollum?
And the successor movies, that's for damn sure.
You know, the successful movies. The successful movies, Connor. You had three good ones. Congratulations.
3 masterpiece ones versus dredged bullshit. Except for those first 3 ones.
It's a masterpiece, except you only have to watch the 5-hour version of them because the 3-hour version doesn't give you all the great lore, and you don't get to know about the wondrous kings of the dwarves who lived in a mountain.
First of all, that's in the Silmarillion. You have to go read the books for any of that kind of stuff. Second of all, nowadays when you hear movies about the Irishman coming out, I can't think of any other long ones. People always complain.
Bad movie. Like, stop wasting our time. Your movies aren't that interesting.
What are you talking about? The Irishman was critically acclaimed and liked by everyone who saw it. People always complain about the hours, though. You know who they never complained about? The hours of Lord of the Rings. People say it's long.
No, people complain. Connor, I'm going to say this right now, as someone who saw Avengers Endgame 4 times in movie theaters. If you don't have a fucking Spider-Man or a lightsaber, I don't want to fucking hear from you.
You know what? There's no winning against stupidity. There's only... You can fight against it, you can argue against it, and you can make some great points against it. But ultimately, Lord of the Rings will always be better than Star Wars. And anyone who says other words is the aforementioned idiot in this situation. Not me, of course.
Star Wars got a better hit rate. I'm just saying that right now.
Maybe that's actually true, but that's because there's so much stuff because they want to just pump it with money because it's a bloated corpse. That's not true. It's a bloated,
I'll even go movies, just movies. Cut it down to just movies. Star Wars still has a better hit rate.
No. Now you're screwing yourself.
Not by much. Not by much. Not by much.
I do not count the Hobbit movie since that is not Lord of the Rings. That is.
Oh,
Hobbit.
Shut up! That's Lord of the Rings.
It's not the same thing. No, it's not. It's not even content in the original books. So there you go.
Listen, Lord of the Rings got a 50% hit rate. Star Wars,
it has 100%
55 to 60.
100%. Okay, you know what? It's 100% hit rate unless you're counting the TV show, which I do not. Because once again, that doesn't even cover.
I forgot about that TV show. Yeah, that TV show was ass, wasn't it? Yeah.
Amazon, what are you gonna do?
I'm sitting over here rewatching Clone Wars for the 6th time, having a great time. Wow. Great stories.
Go watch like Arcane or Cyberpunk 2077. Be the games journalist you need to be and watch the modern adaptations, Tavin. Please watch those. They're very good.
Anyways, Connor, let's go ahead and put that to bed.
Well,
man, we got off topic.
We never will put that to bed, Tavin. That'll be a continuing argument.
Oh my goodness gracious! If only you had better taste. But let's move along to our third topic of the day. Your second, Penny. Go ahead and just grab this one real quick, Connor. We have a cute little conversation here.
Xbox news. So we're getting it straight from the tap. Get ready for the Xbox Game Showcase and Starfield Direct double feature airing June 11th. We're delighted to announce, this is from Joe Scrubbles, Xbox Wire editor-in-chief. We're delighted to announce that the Xbox Game Showcase will be live streamed on June 11th at 10 a.m. Immediately after the showcase, we'll be airing Starfield Direct, a deep dive into Bethesda Game Studios' highly anticipated sci-fi RPG. Join us for some new surprises and first looks from our incredibly talented internal studios and our many creative partners around the world. This is the day gamers have been waiting for to see what is coming to Xbox, PC, and Game Pass. Starfield Direct will invite you inside Bethesda Game Studios to learn much, much more about Starfield with tons of new gameplay, developer interviews, and behind-the-scenes insider information. Like last year, we'll also have our follow-up stream, Xbox Game Showcase, extended airing June 13th at 10 a.m. PT. With in-depth interviews focused on the news from our Xbox Game Showcase, as well as game updates from our partners. You'll be able to watch our June 11th show live through a variety of outlets and in over 30 languages, and American Sign Language, British Sign Language, and English audio descriptions. You can tune into one stream to watch both shows. It's a double feature. Our virtual and in-person Fan Fest events are also returning this year, with opportunities to watch our broadcast with local fans in Los Angeles, Mexico City, Sao Paulo, Melbourne, and Warsaw. Sign up for Xbox. I guess
All that fun stuff. But
yeah.
We got a showcase, and then we've got the Starfield Direct, June 11th, 10 a.m. Pacific time to I don't know, 2 p.m. Pacific time. Maybe, I don't know. Take as much time as you fucking need, Xbox, because you let's be honest, you need it. So a lot of Xbox news has been in this week, and we're going to talk about the other big news that's happening here in just a minute. But Connor, let's focus specifically on the showcase here. What are we expecting? What are your hype levels? How are you feeling about this? Where are you at with all of this?
Well, you see, I'm very excited. As you said before, we have another Xbox-related story to cover here next, which when we cover that, there was a clue as to what's going to be at this showcase. And that's the game that I've been waiting for a long time. Avowed. It's coming, Tavin. It is coming. Because we know it's coming. You know it's coming too, right? You know it's coming to the showcase.
We'll see, Connor. I mean, this one's been the one that's ducking you for the last couple of years now.
I've always made the prediction that it'll show up at the Game Awards. I lost points during our little thing that we did last year. Maybe it was the year. No, it was last year. Yeah.
I think you did it both years.
I think I probably did. Yeah, I definitely did. Yeah. So I've lost because of this, but I'm willing to forgive Xbox if they just show me the game. And stop making me want it. Because I really want this.
For sure. Yes, I think Avowed is probably a lock in there. Maybe some Outer Worlds too, just depending on how busy Obsidian's been. There's a lot of questions on the table right now for Xbox in a lot of different ways, and we'll talk about some of that a little later. But as for right now, games, we don't know a lot about the games that are that have been shown on Xbox in the last year or so. You know, we still have, we're only working off of the Starfield information that we got a year ago. We have yet to see anything from Avowed, like you mentioned, Connor. Perfect Dark is still a question mark. Everwild is still a question mark. There's a lot of question marks in Xbox's lineup, and I'm very excited to see what they've got coming for us. Because especially after Redfall, man, does Xbox need a win. And I think this showcase and hopefully Starfield will deliver upon them a win. But Xbox, you've been talking for a long time, and we are 3 years deep into this console generation. Halo didn't do it. Redfall didn't do it. What else have you got for us, man? Because, we all enjoyed Hi-Fi Rush this year. That was a really cool game. We all really, really liked that. That was a cool nice little win for Xbox. But that's it. Like that and Pentiment, I guess, if you want to bring out Pentiments,
Apparently amazing.
Apparently it's good. Not my type of game. I'm cool. So now we have to look at what does a premier Xbox studio title mean? Because as of right now, it doesn't mean much, and I'm hoping that this showcase shows me what I can expect from Xbox in the next few years, and hopefully by the end of this year, get something really cool out of this. I'm interested and excited for a deep dive into Starfield. I'm interested to see what they've got for us there. But it's the main meat of the showcase that I am really, really interested in. And I'm interested to see if Xbox themselves has any interest in diversifying their portfolio. A lot of action games, a lot of first-person shooters on the Xbox list, and I'm curious if they're willing to step outside of that and do something very cool. Minecraft Legends, which we reviewed 2 weeks ago, was neat and cute, but didn't quite give us the oomph that we want from them. So all of that, expecting hopefully a final release date for Forza. We'll see, but
cares about Forza. No one cares.
I mean, but that's a big title for Xbox, and the fact that in their developer direct earlier this year that they didn't show anything or they didn't give us a date for that was shocking. It was shocking that Forza didn't have a date. So I'm hoping that Forza gets a date. I'm hoping it's this year, to kind of talk about, Phil Spencer in the interview that we're about to talk about, said, hey, we want to release a big game every quarter. Cool. You started off strong with Hi-Fi Rush. You're middling here in the middle with Minecraft Legends and with Redfall. And even like on like the third partnerships and indie side, Last Case of Benedict Fox doesn't seem to have hit the mark with a lot of gamers, which is unfortunate because it was on my fantasy draft and I was really hoping for a lot from that game, and I'm not getting that, which is quite unfortunate.
Shame.
I know.
No,
but yeah, I'm interested to see what they have, but they need to start putting their money where their mouth is, and not into all of these random studios that they keep buying.
We're definitely not seeing Perfect Dark. That game has we covered it relatively recently about how they've had development problems, and they probably won't be anywhere near to showing that game out, despite it being in production for a while. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Xbox has control over Tomb Raider, right?
No, Embracer has the rights for Tomb Raider.
Never mind then.
Yeah.
First, I always because the second game was on Xbox only. I always associate it with, being owned by Xbox.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That was just a partnership, one-time deal, and that didn't really work out for them. And then let me think. There was another. Oh, Fable. Where's Fable at? What's going on with Fable? That was a game you announced. You announced that game 2 years ago, over 2 years ago. When Connor, it's when you and I started this show, is when they announced that game. And where the hell is it? Like
it was the frog. It was the frog eating the fairy.
Yeah, the big frog and the fairy, all of that. There was a couple of games from back then that we really haven't gotten too many updates on, and it's time to start showing us. And I think Xbox knows that. I think Phil Spencer knows that, and I think they're willing to address concerns that players have and really show us why you want to be gaming on Xbox and subscribe to Xbox Game Pass. I'm a happy subscriber to Game Pass, but I would like some first party output from Xbox. I'm desperately I'm always rooting for Xbox. Excuse me. But I'm looking for Xbox to give me a reason to be a fan of Xbox. And I have not been a fan of Xbox in a while. And I would like for that to change. Because I just want to play great games just like everybody else.
Starfield's got to blow it away. They can't have this be a flop.
It can't be, right? Like it can't be a technical mess is what it can't be. Like,
which we see a lot of nowadays.
Especially with Bethesda games. Yeah, like Starfield needs to hit, and I really hope that this Starfield Direct will give us confidence that Starfield will hit, but we'll have to see. There will be live reactions to all of the Summer Games Fest season directs and showcases and so forth on the channel, and you can watch us react live over at twitch.tv/2pennygames. I'll be there for sure. I have to communicate with my co-hosts here to see who else has time in their busy schedules and who's willing to take off work alongside me to go and watch all of these showcases. But we will see about all of that in the future. Connor, let's go ahead and move into our final topic of the day. Also Xbox related. This is my final penny. Phil Spencer went on the Kind of Funny Xcast to talk about all of the happenings over at Xbox in the last week or so. They had, how can I put it? They had scheduled this interview prior to the CMA block of Activision Blizzard, which we covered last week, and prior to the reviews for Redfall hitting, which are less than stellar. I believe last I checked, sitting at a 64 on Metacritic, but I don't know if that's up to date and exact. So Connor, to get us started, did you watch the interview? What did you think of the interview? How did you feel about the interview? You're muted, my friend. Damn. You were coming with fire too, man. I'm sure that first sentence was a banger.
And now it's been taken out of him.
We'll never know.
He could have gone on the interview, Phil Spencer, and made a fool of himself. We've seen it happen many times. Not this time though. In fact, it was the exact opposite. It was the best way from a PR standpoint that any of these questions could have been handled, because the reality is Xbox is not in a good position. And when it was recorded, it was not in a good position as well. So here's my big issue with Redfall failing. It's done by a studio, Arcane, who have consistently made great games. Now, if it's not up to your cup of tea, it's still at least well-made games. And then all of a sudden, even though it granted is a different type of game than they usually make, but when Xbox had control over them, the game they released was not good. It had bug problems, and all of those issues it didn't look all that great either, visually. When past games that they have made, one thing I saw a comparison of was some of the character models of Redfall to a game that I played, an old arcade game, Heroes of Might and Magic: Dark Messiah.
Oh, geez, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I brought it up on the podcast once a while ago. The characters look better in that game than some of the Redfall characters do, which that's a 2006 game, by the way, and yikes. That's in no way acceptable. I'm not a really big stickler for character designs and whether they look good or not, but that just speaks to the main underlying issue, which is that it was messed up by Xbox. At least that's what the impression is, and it's kind of hard to say otherwise due to the track record of their games being good. I know there's error for them because they were working on a new game, but it's kind of hard to see that. And if you were to come out and criticize those developers, it would have come off as, oh, you guys caused the problem, and now you're just trying to pawn it off to them.
And that's where I want to jump in. I've watched the interview a few times because I think it's fascinating. I think it's really interesting. Xbox has been, we've said it many times on this podcast, Xbox is the most consumer-friendly big publisher, game producer out there. Of the big three, they care about the gamers the most. I think that's undeniable with how they've been treating gamers and how they've been opening up their different what is the word I'm looking for? Not sources, like their services, their different services. With Xbox Game Pass, their Play Anywhere program, their ID at Xbox program. They care about games, they care about gamers, and they care about giving little guys chances. They've been on a spending spree, acquiring mad studios for the last couple of years. And I think that we've yet to see the fruits of that labor. And Redfall is the first game in the Bethesda acquisition that was announced on an Xbox stage, that was marketed by Xbox, that came out to Xbox-only platforms, and it didn't come together. It apparently is not being received well. I haven't played the game, so I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of glitches, a lot of bugs on the internet, a lot of really weird characters, like models glitching out and freaking out and stuff. So it doesn't seem like the game is very well optimized. And I want to commend Phil here, because when's the last time we've seen someone of his status come out and talk about a game flopping or talk about their business not working out too well? I don't know if I ever have. I certainly in my time paying attention to the video game industry, it's been very rare where I've seen a head of a publisher, a head of a CEO of a company come out and take it on the chin. And even in my shorter time of covering games news, I've never seen it happen. So I commend Phil for coming out. I commend the cast of the Xcast for asking him some really hard-hitting questions. They didn't flinch away. They didn't, throw him a bunch of softballs. They did try and be friendly and sort of present information a little lighter than what the truth is. But Again, Phil Spencer, I think, handled it all greatly. There were moments in the interview where someone tried to sort of give him a layup, and he said, no, wait, pause. That was a failure. We messed up. We failed. And he took it on the chin. And I think I think he hinted several times during the interview, and there's been a lot of talk on Twitter of like, oh, maybe we need to change heads of Xbox. Maybe Phil Spencer isn't working out, and we need to remove him as head of Xbox. I think that would be a colossal mistake on the part of Xbox and the part of Microsoft. I think Phil Spencer has been doing his best to turn his ship around. He was given the job at a bad time, at a really bad time, where Xbox really failed really hard. And he talks about it in the interview, and I agree with him, where they lost the most important generation to lose with the Xbox One. Everyone kind of locked down. The industry clinched up. Everything became digital. So your entire library is tied to a specific digital store. I'm not selling my PlayStation 5 anytime soon. The thing I'll disagree with Phil in that statement where he said, even if Starfield comes out and it's an 11 out of 10, no one's going to be selling their PS5. That's true. Starfield comes out, it blows us all away. It's the game of the generation, hypothetically. I'll play it. I'll love it. And I'll do it through Game Pass on PC. I will not rush out and buy an Xbox Series X for Starfield. I will not rush out and sell my PlayStation 5 for Starfield. But the next time console generation, manufacturing comes around and I have to start making decisions about what I'm going to spend $500, $600 on, if Xbox, you start putting out the great games that are in your catalog by the great developers that are in your catalog, I'll pause. I'll take a second. I'll think about it. Do I really want whatever the next PlayStation is, or do I want to, jump over back to the Xbox side? But to keep the focus on that before, I kind of got distracted there. To bring it back to Redfall, I think it's clear Redfall's development started before the Microsoft acquisition. But Phil does take it on the chin and say we didn't jump in early enough with Redfall, and I think that's because something I would rather have this than the other way, where Phil Spencer's approach is he wants the creatives to be creative. He wants the devs to go out and make the games that they want to make. Now, was Redfall the game Arcane Austin wanted to make? Who can say? We're not in those meetings and we're not in that conversations. It might have been a game that Take-Two. Is it Take-Two who's the parent company of Bethesda, Connor? I'm drawing a blank. You're looking that up for me right now. It might have been the game that Bethesda, told Arcane Austin to make, and then they were already deep into development by the time. ZeniMax, thank you. That's what it is. Take-Two is the other guys. ZeniMax had instructed them to make a multiplayer-like, Far Cry-like, Borderlands, Destiny-type game, maybe Games of Service-y, and I think Arcane tried their best, and it just doesn't seem like it's it just doesn't seem where they're successful at in an open world setting. I just don't think that dev team is prepared to do that. But Xbox committed. They didn't cancel the game. They didn't shut down the intent. They brought it to the finish line, and when we crossed the point of no return, the game just did not come together. And unfortunately, you could have delayed Redfall another year, another 2 years. But I'm going to take a guess, and Phil Spencer alluded to this in the interview. I don't think Redfall was ever going to be successful. It never impressed me in any of its showings, and I feel like I'm the guy on Two Penny Games who gives games the most benefit of the doubt until they actually come out. Because every game I see, I'm like, that looks great. I'm going to play it. I never play them, but I always want to play them. But Redfall never impressed me. I was never sold on Redfall from the beginning. And I think if you can't get a guy like me to go, oh yeah, I'd like to try it out, then that's a problem. So I think there were creative choices made in Redfall that led to its failure, quote unquote. I'm not blaming the devs. I'm not putting blame on anyone. You're in a creative space where you're putting out creative work that is centered around technology. The tech has to work alongside the creative vision. And that makes everything super hard and super complicated. And this one just missed the mark. It didn't come together, and that's unfortunate. But should we doubt Arcane's ability to make great games? No, they've got a super proven track record. Dishonored, Prey, Deathloop, all of these are great games.
Dark Messiah.
What's up?
Dark Messiah.
Dark Messiah, whatever that is. So I'm very much excited for and interested in the next Arcane game. Whatever that is, whether it's a Deathloop 2, whether it's a Dishonored 3, a Prey 2, which I don't think we're getting, but
No.
you know, whatever it is, I'm there day one for that. And I hope that Xbox continues to give Arcane the resources and the bandwidth in order to make the great games that they're known for. And I think they will. Connor, I've been talking for a long time. Is there anywhere there where you wanted to jump in and stop me on anything I said already?
No. Yeah, you talked a while. And it covered it all. No, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Especially well, there's more to talk about in this interview. We have much more to talk about in there. But yeah, I was very interested to see this interview, and honestly, I'll probably watch it again at some point in the next week. And I was impressed with the Xcast. You know, I'm a listener of the Xcast, not, you know, consistently, but like whenever Xbox news is happening, I do tune into the Xcast and see what's up. And they asked some great questions, and they had some great dialogues with Phil, and I'm very excited about that. You know, there was a question asked about the showcase and what we can expect from it. And I loved Phil Spencer's answer of, listen, we've been talking about games coming down the pipeline for years. At this point, everybody just wants to play the games. You're right, Phil Spencer. We do just want to play the games. Where are the games? Where are they? You know, it's been a long time. You know, you did lose the most important generation to lose with the Xbox One generation. That's unfortunate. But Phil Spencer, you have been the head of Xbox for quite a while now, and you've made quite a few moves since then. And we are probably, he alluded to it in the interview, we are probably on the precipice of seeing all of those moves from Xbox pay off. We just, unfortunately, took a couple blunders along the way.
This is unfortunately a seed of doubt of whether they can carry the rest of their games to a successful path. Because Hi-Fi Rush, that was the last game that came out. It was fantastic, but unfortunately, not every game is going to be like Hi-Fi Rush, and you got to make it at least come out working baseline. Because I think this game would have been a lot better received, or at least midly received, if it just had a working condition that was not like raw with problems.
Would have gotten a lot more 7s and 8s and not 4, 5s and 6s, you know?
Yeah, I think they still would have probably had the same problem of not being able to push the Xbox brand back into the gaming scene rather than the technology scene. But they clearly didn't do that here. But,
well, also, it being an Arcane game put pressure on that game. Like, Arcane makes bangers, and we expect bangers from Arcane. Redfall was never going to be a banger. Give it all the development time you need. It just wasn't going to make it. So that is unfortunate for that. Connor, what did you think of Phil Spencer's take on the CMA? Pretty much sort of a reiteration of what he had said last week, where the decision to block this acquisition based off of a streaming market that is just beginning or doesn't exist doesn't make a lot of sense. How did you feel about that take?
I mean, he said he was gonna. They were still trying to appeal it. I mean, I'm not very up and up on all the legal stuff, even when he was talking about it. On if that actually is an unreasonable reason to block the acquisition in the first place. But it is it makes sense that they'd want to cancel this deal from going on for what might happen down the line rather than what currently the situation is right now with cloud gaming. But I think it's really just a logistical thing that needs to be sorted out. And if they are able to appeal successfully, I don't see any other roadblocks hitting it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this just seemed to be the thing that could be grabbed onto to prevent this deal from going through. So I don't really have much of a thought on it, other than it's probably there's pros and cons to this acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
We've covered it before, so whether it goes through or not, I'm not exactly a big champion of it, but I'm also not a detractor. I've seen many of those because, understandably, they don't want a whole company like Activision Blizzard to be acquired by another one bigger company who's also going around buying up a bunch of other places. So it's easy to see both sides to it. but I can't really say that Phil Spencer obviously wants Xbox to be able to acquire it. You know, he is a biased voice in this because he's one of the two parties that really wants this to go a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Sony arguably being the other one, on the side of the government, apparently, the government of the UK. But I mean, I can't really say much other than just, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's beyond our powers.
Yeah, I think currently this is the biggest and only roadblock to the path of acquisition. Now, whether the acquisition is a good thing or a bad thing, I see, but like you, Connor, I see both sides of it. I lean towards it's probably healthier for the industry if Xbox acquires Activision Blizzard. It's certainly healthier, I think, for Activision Blizzard themselves. But you know, it's a lot of wait and see, and we're all tired of talking about it. And hopefully one day we'll be able to finally stop talking about it. But of course, even if the acquisition goes through, and then it's the 5 to 6 years waiting for the first Microsoft game from Activision Blizzard, you know what I mean? And then we're talking about that for years and years and years and years, like we're talking about with Bethesda here, because we are now 2 years deep from the Bethesda acquisition. Is that right? Yeah, because we covered it on our show. So the show, you know, that's still recent, and we're still sitting here waiting for those dominoes to start falling. And we still kind of haven't seen them fall. So
no, we had not. And really, it goes to highlight how slow this process is. Because you would think there'd be like some major change to it. And granted, this is a major development in the acquisition, but you'd think it'd still be farther along than that.
Well, game development takes a long time.
It does.
You know,
acquisitions apparently even more so.
Yeah, apparently. So, you know, we'll find out with all of this. But Connor, in a more general sense, how are you feeling about the future of Xbox now? Where do they go from here? What do they need to get done? And what are you hoping to see from them in the coming year?
Well, we got that showcase coming up here in June, and that's really when we see what they have planned, and then when those games in that showcase are released, at least the main ones that aren't, you know, that actually we see gameplay of, not because I don't know if there'll be some, you know, cinematic trailer for some game that's coming on 3 years down the line, which is what they do not need to do. What they need is to have games that have gameplay, or at least you see the framework of a game and expect it in the year or so, the next year. And once those games come out, depending on the quality, will severely determine what the future of Xbox is. Because if they're like Redfall, they don't do that well, they have technical problems, Sony's got it locked down for the next couple of years. Nintendo is going to be way bigger than, you know, new games coming out from Xbox, because if the things they promise right now can't come out in working order, I don't see what they're going to do at that point, because games take a long time to make. And if your new batch of games come out for your console that doesn't really have a lot of new batches coming out, you know, up until this point, you're screwed. My eyes. Obviously, they won't fail as a business. It's Microsoft. They're not going to close down Xbox. We couldn't make these games, but they're just going to be behind the curve even more so than they already are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. Like, the great games do need to come, no matter how much Phil pushed against it in this interview. Like, you still need to put out great games, and he knows that. He knows he needs to put out great games. But I guess a lot of the conversation was circling around the competition side of the conversation. You know, Phil was saying specifically he's not in the business of out-consoling the other guys. He's not interested in being a better green version of the blue guy. And admittedly, or at least from his perspective, admitted that Xbox is running third place right now. They're the J. Cole of the games industry, if you will. For my hip hop heads. What was your take on that of Xbox seeing themselves in third place? How do you feel about that?
I mean, they're not going to just admit that they're, you know, completely inferior in every single way, but
I mean, yeah, right? Like,
I don't know really what to say about it, to be honest, because it's like, okay, well, you guys clearly haven't been, you know, if there's fourth place, you'd probably be in that more than you would be third place.
Wow, really? You think so?
Yeah, just like what is Xbox? What does Microsoft really do that jumps out at you in recent years?
I mean, I think that's really the thing, is what is Xbox's identity? in the modern
Pass
era.
thing.
Game Pass is your services, is your identity right now, and we all love Game Pass, and we all love what Xbox is doing with cloud gaming and what they're doing with ID at Xbox and what they're doing with Game Pass. We love all of that, but we want Xbox first party studio games. We want a reason to buy the box is what we want, and you're not giving us reasons to buy the box. No matter how many great services you give us, it's still, we're still sitting here going, yeah, these are great, and eventually, hopefully, there will be great games, but you don't have a God of War Ragnarok. You don't have a Last of Us Part 2. You don't have a Ghost of Tsushima. You don't have these things. And you need these things. You don't need carbon copies. You don't need third-person action-adventure story-based narrative games, but you need something to bring us to your box, whether that's a multiplayer experience that's off the chain and awesome, which we aren't getting with Halo Infinite, whether it's a single-player, fun, kid-friendly, action rhythm-based game like Hi-Fi Rush, which was cool and great and I think is successful. Phil mentioned, hey, Age of Empires 2 was extremely successful and came out earlier this year alongside Hi-Fi Rush. That's great. Minecraft Legends was mid. Redfall was a flop. You need Starfield to hit. And unfortunately, I think we're at a point in time where I don't know if delaying Starfield, if Starfield needs a delay, I don't know if that's a good option anymore, because the more you keep delaying, the more you keep pushing, and the more you keep pushing back, the less and less confident we as gamers are in you. And I'm desperately looking for a reason to be excited about Xbox, and they're just not giving me anything. But they know this. That's the thing, is that they know what they need to do. It's just a matter of getting it done. And there is something along the line that is not working. And it's not Phil's fault, and I don't think it's the developer's fault. It's somewhere in the middle. It's whatever management, ladder of management is going on. Something's not working in between those two to get everything to get where it needs to be. And I hope Xbox can evaluate and figure out what that is. Because, especially if your mock reviewers are coming in looking at a game like Redfall and you're expecting double-digit differences, 10-point plus difference in critical reception than the one you got, that's a problem. And you need to fix that. I don't know if you're just surrounding yourself with yes men. I don't know if you're just hiring the wrong people to do the job, but whatever's happening, it's not working, and you don't need to pivot. I don't think Xbox needs to pivot and make drastic changes. I think they've already done that. Now they need to grease the wheels. They need to tighten the bolts. They need to figure out why it's not working the way they want it to work, and get that machine working the way it needs to.
They're in poo-poo situation.
What did you say?
They're in poo-poo situation.
They're in poo-poo situation, for sure. Mm-hmm. Connor, anything else you have on the state of Xbox, the Phil Spencer interview, anything at all here?
Once again, I just, really, he could have come and made a fool of himself.
Yeah.
There's a bullet that was dodged there. Whether he was close to it or not, I don't think he was, but... Or he could have just given us PR speak. He could have, yeah.
He talked to us directly. He owned up. He took it on the chin, and he's paid way too much money to take it on the chin. Look at when's the last time Jim Ryan's come out and said, "Yeah, PlayStation VR 2, we're not supporting it like we need to. We're going to fix it." It's not happening. When's the last time Miyamoto or anybody from Nintendo came out? I don't even know what Doug Bowser looks like. You know what I mean?
He's bald.
He's bald. That's all I know. He's a bald dude. So the fact that Phil Spencer continues to be the face of Xbox, continues to be a source of communication from the developer, from the publisher, to the gamer, to the consumer, I will continue to champion that. That's awesome. I love it. It makes me a fan of Phil Spencer. I just want to be a fan of Xbox now.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're not doing the best job of it. That's for sure.
For sure. Connor, that is it for the news right now. Let's go ahead and move into our Star Wars Jedi Survivor review. You've been playing it. I've been playing it. We are going to cut the recording and re-edit it in, so don't go anywhere if you're listening on podcast services. We're going to jump right into it. Don't go anywhere if you're listening on twitch.tv/2pennygames. Sunday, right now it is 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Continue watching. But for the standalone version of the review, we gotta make a cut here. So we'll be right back in 3, 2, 1. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to a 2-penny Gamescast review. This time for Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and Star Wars lover, Connor Elliott. Say hello to the people.
No, not a Star Wars lover. I enjoy Star Wars.
You don't love the Star Wars like me, Connor? I love the Star Wars.
I love Lord of the Rings, the superior franchise.
Oh, I don't know about all that, but we're not talking about today. Today we are talking about Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I've been playing it. Connor, you've been playing it. I've beaten the game. I'm 40 plus hours deep. I'm running around currently working on my platinum trophy for the game. Connor, where would you say you are? You're probably from the story checkpoint you just told me. You're probably 15-ish.
15-ish? Oh, okay.
15, maybe 20, depending on how deep you're in. I was 39 hours when I beat the game. But depending on how much side stuff you're doing, you might get there faster, because I did quite a bit. By the time I rolled credits, there was not a single planet underneath 85% completion. So all of that could change things for you. But ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and just get into my straight up review, thoughts and opinions about it. Star Wars, Jesus Christ, with these naming conventions.
I know, it's a weird one.
There's 2 colons in this name. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a great game. It's a lot of fun. I have had an absolute blast exploring the worlds, fighting the incredible amount of enemy varieties in this game, of the really dialed in combat systems in comparison to the first one, the expansion on exploration. The exploration in this game is really, really good. I really like exploring and running around the world and finding all the nooks and crannies and stuff. There's been many times where I dip into a little crack in the wall and I enter a new area and I go, oh, I'll just check this out real quick. And then 30 minutes pass, 45 minutes go by and I go, what the fuck is this place? I really think Jedi Survivor is a really fantastic game, and it once again shows just how great Respawn is. It just, in every element, it was expanded upon and improved. My only real true critique is obviously the technical performance of the game is not great, not even good. In fact, it's kind of bad. And I think the story is a super simple and safe Star Wars story, and it overall fails in order to get me interested in the plight of Cal Kestis, who continues to just kind of be a white bread protagonist that I'm just struggling to find a reason to get invested in his journey. But all of that aside, it has not stopped me from putting over 40 hours into this game, constantly running around, enjoying the combat, enjoying the game feel, enjoying the game design. It really is just a great game. If I were to put a score on it, it's an 8 out of 10 video game that I love like a 10 out of 10 video game. And it's going to be ranking very, very high in my game of the year list by the time we get to the end of it, if not my game of the year. And then the elephant in the room, the technical issues, they're a mess. In my playthrough, before rolling credits, I experienced 2 crashes, an unbelievable amount of frame rate drops, an unbelievable amount of pop-in, muted textures, ugly textures, lighting glitches, geometry glitches galore. Lots of issues in this game. A lot of times game logic would not progress. Characters would get stuck and not say lines that they're supposed to say. They would not be in places they're supposed to be. And it was really, it was never game breaking. I'll say that, but it was always just a little annoyance as I was running around having a great time with the gameplay. After rolling credits, the game seems to have only gotten worse, because now I'm rocking a solid 25 frames per second when in the bigger environments of the game. I've had 3 more crashes all within the same play session post credits. And the pop in has lessened, but the overall game performance has lessened as well. So I've had multiple updates which did seem to improve performance, but I've still having a cornucopia of issues with the game, and that's really unfortunate because I really do love it. I love all of the new saber stances. They're fantastic. As soon as I got the new ones, I put the old ones away. I never touched them. Like literally, like the second I got the third one you get is the dual wield. I never got off of that. And then the my favorite is the one saber and the blaster. I love that. And unfortunately, the game only lets you do 2, and I love those 2 so much that even though I wasn't expecting the crossguard to be one that I enjoyed, but my limited time with it, I did enjoy it a lot. It felt really good. But I can only have 2 at a time, and I focused on my main 2, which is the dual wielding and the saber and the blaster, which I adore. I played a majority of this game with the saber and blaster. It's so good.
You made it seem like that was your favorite when you were talking about it.
It's so good. I love it so much. But Connor, I wanna hear about your experience with the game. What is your review of Star Wars Jedi Survivor?
Well, if it wasn't mentioned before, if I missed it, both of us played on PS5. So the breadth of the technical issues have existed on PC. They exist both places, but if you go on Steam, I don't know if the reviews are still the same, but it was mostly negative due to the fact they had so many technical problems. Which, to start off with, I want to start off with that because I really do like the game a lot. I'm pretty much in the same exact space as you. I wouldn't say I enjoy it like a 10 out of 10 game because certain, not really for any actual particular reason. One thing that I absolutely love about this game, and it's something I usually criticize all the time, is the traversal. This is some of the most fun I've had traversing any kind of area in a long while. Climbing especially. I do not like when games are super slow with it, when they do things to mess you up and make you go, whoa, I'm almost going to fall. This game doesn't do either of those things. It makes you do it efficiently, but it also intersperses it with things like wall running, which was in the original game. A new, I don't believe it was in the original one, a dash option that you can dash.
The dash
while
was
you're
not.
there. Yeah,
No.
I did not think it was, which, usually it's mainly used as a form to get around certain shortcuts that open up in the game after you get that ability, but it's fun to do. It's fun to get from place to place, and other situations where you usually wouldn't have to use it, traversal once again just becomes a little bit easier and a little bit more fun to watch and do when you're able to do those dashes. Movements, it's a tricky part to get in games, and this one does it perfectly. Same thing with the combat, the styles that you were talking about, the variety of enemies, which, one of the things I was hopeful for before this game came out, after my experience with the first game, what was it called again? I get so mixed up with this one's name.
Jedi Fallen Order was the first.
Fallen Order was it? Yeah, Fallen Order. It had a lot of areas to improve: combat, enemy types, story. Unfortunately, the story, I'd say it's better, but it's not exactly as good as it could have been. Especially with how the last game left off, with there being a wide breadth of things you could do with it. But the combat certainly had major improvements due to those, 3 extra ways to use your lightsaber, which in my instance, I used the dual wielding, which is just, it really is just a nice tool that's universal. It's good in pretty much any combat situation, which ideally is what the one lightsaber, the single-handed one, would fulfill. But I never really felt the need to go back to it like you. The moment I got the dual wielding, I only used that. The blaster stance, I like it, but I'm not that good with it. So, and it's not my usual style of playing the game. So, unfortunately, I had to pass on that for the cross.
Those Bloodborne roots didn't translate?
Oh. No, it did not. It definitely did not. Is there a pairing option at some point that you can unlock? I haven't looked into the skills.
With the blaster, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you'll like, as they come into attack, you blast them, and lower enemy. It will always send them back and knock them on their ass. But lower class enemies, it's a one-hit kill.
Mm-hmm, yeah, but it's the crossguard, just that slow, almost like, I kind of compare it to a strength build in Elden Ring, because that's always in my mind. And how you get a lot slower, but you do a lot more stamina damage and a lot more damage in general, which is nice because some bosses in the game, they feel like they can kind of take a lot of hits But the crossguard, at least in my mind, probably functionally doesn't change much, but it makes me feel like I'm doing. The pace is a lot better when I'm using this higher damage weapon, even though it is a lot slower. But you really have to time when you're going to strike with that lightsaber, because other games, Elden, you obviously attack slower with heavier strength weapons, but you're not always attacking that slow. In this one, I really feel like I'm going slow, but the payoff is really there in terms of the damage to stamina and to health. So that really, it really was effective in changing up the pace of the game as opposed to the first one. Man, those bosses, they can be tough.
They go there.
Especially the random ones you find around the map. These the legendary creatures.
The beasts in this game are ridiculous, and I don't know why so many of them have one-hit kills. Like,
it happened to me with Rancor. I was like, wait, I'm dead.
You're dead. Yeah, Rancor will kill you instantly. Like if between he's a high damage enemy, which I was expecting. But like there's straight up a move that is a one-hit kill, and if you get hit by it, you're done. You got to start over. And I'm like, really? Like, I don't know. I don't love that, and especially because none of the other bosses, none of like the humanoid bosses, none of them have one-hit kills.
Mm-hmm. I did have an instance. I don't know if do you remember this boss called the Mire Terror? It's a dual boss.
It's a dual boss?
Yeah, there's two of them.
Mire Terror. Two beasts?
I just this speaks to the criticism of the game, but not to me, because what happened was I went to fight this boss that is two enemy types in the game, and it was kicking my ass. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go get my souls or whatever the equivalent of it in this game is. I can't even remember the name.
Gonna go get some skill points.
Skill points, yeah. I went back to get it and I left, and I was gone, and all of a sudden it said, "Objective complete. Mire Terror killed." I'm like, what? And I got the XP for it. I went back and got the stim pack that came with it, and it's just not there anymore. And I thought to myself,
wow.
I don't know how this happened, but hey, got a nice workaround thanks to the game not being completely functional. That's the biggest impact that's happened to me so far, because my game has not crashed. My game has only slowered in frame rate and done that. And had some weird clip-ins with some of the enemies' bodies that are left over after you kill them, which, I kind of enjoy that. That's not really a criticism. But,
yeah. Wow, that's kind of crazy, yeah.
Yeah. Just free boss kill.
Oh, no, I've not had any free boss kills, and I certainly wish I did, because I've definitely been cheated because of frame rate drops or because of glitches and died when I shouldn't have. But again, it never really stopped my enjoyment of the game. I just wish it wasn't there. And I'm thoroughly, I really do enjoy the general combat of this game. I think it's much better than the original game, and I think it's I think it's much more dialed in, and it's much closer to, a FromSoft game in terms of like level of balance and level of work. And right here on the screen, Connor, you can't see this because I'm not sharing my screen, but there's a lovely, if you see the TikTok where a Wampa beast got stuck in a falling animation right now, and I made a joke about the Eminem, everybody from the 313, put your motherfucking hands up and follow me.
I did see that.
Yeah, it did that, and I thought that was funny. But the alongside you, like the different stances, the expansion of combat, all the different enemy variety in this game is awesome. So many different enemy types. The inclusion of battle droids and everything that comes with battle droids is awesome. Fans of Clone Wars are going to see a lot of familiar enemies in here. Fans of expanded universe stuff are going to see a lot of really cool things in here. A lot of cool new droids, a lot of cool new beasts and stuff that I don't think we've seen in Star Wars before, but I could be wrong. I'm enjoying all of those. There were moments in the game's story where I was like, oh, this is peak. This is dope. But overall, I just felt it was pretty generic and played it safe in a lot of different ways. The main antagonists of the game are not interesting at all, which is something that I think Fallen Order actually has. It was better in the first game. Like, the antagonists of the second and the fifth sister were intimidating and scary and dope. And then I think the character story they were telling was more interesting. in Fallen Order than what they gave us in Survivor. Not to say it was great. I thought it was pretty generic in Fallen Order also, but there were moments where I was like, "Oh, this is dope Star Wars content." And Survivor has moments of that, and definitely has peaks where I go, "Oh, this is dope." But it overall just never really steps up in any meaningful way narratively. Every other facet of the game is fantastic, and I cannot wait to play the game again. I can't wait to start my new Journey Plus. I can't wait to start all the way over, which I will probably do in a couple of years when I look back and play this game in anticipation for the next Jedi game. I'm very excited for the next Jedi game. Not so much for story purposes or for the Journey of Cal, but just to see what they add, just to see how they improve it, just to see what they do from here.
Did a good job from the first one.
Yeah, the customization in this game is amazing. I love it. I so desperately wish this was just a full-on Star Wars RPG with a created character. Like, and I could just make Cal look however I want him to look. But the choice to go with the actor works, and, editing the hair, editing the beard, the outfit, the expanded lightsaber customization is great. The working with different colors and textures and materials with the lightsaber is so much fun. Editing the blaster, editing BD1, the breakdown of him, where in the last game you just kind of picked color palettes. This one, like, pick individual colors, have him multiple colored, exchange pieces out on him, like his ears and his head, the back of his head, his body, his legs. Like, all of that is so much fun, and I love it to death so much. I think I finally, just now, post-game, 40-something hours deep, have finally solidified, and I'm like, okay, this is my lightsaber. This is my Cal Kestis. This is my BD1. Like, this is what it finally looks like. Where I was just like, all right, yeah, this is where it's at. And I'm gonna put pictures up on my Twitter after I platinum the game with images of all that. So follow me at Tavin Bothel on Twitter. Link in the description. But yeah, Connor. First, I want to ask, what were the general, like, customization choices for you? How was your general look, and saber color, man? Where were you going with that?
All right, start with saber color. I kind of switch because there's two that I was kind of really liking. It's the purple, which is what I did in the first game. I always liked the purple color. The other one is cyan. The cool thing about the color cyan, it's a different shade of blue, but the cool thing that it does is, depending on where you go, it took on different tones depending on the area you were in. Like, sometimes I would go into Jedi temples and it wouldn't look the exact same as it did just out in the sun, which is usually how you picture the lightsaber when you choose the options. I love the customization like you do. It's one of my favorite parts to actually explore it, because I know I get to make my lightsaber look like the definitive version, because same as you, I constantly change it. I kind of got the color palette down for the most part, but the variety of parts that you can use to customize, it's always just a nice little fun thing. What I really like about this game is the issue that a lot of other ones come across is when you get new equipment, when you get upgrades, it comes in the form of weird, like, you do extra damage to this type of enemy, or you do, increased damage or slightly increased. It gets very numbers based. It's very kind of annoying, because sometimes you can look at it and say, what's this exactly changing?
It'll get very niche, and you're like, I'll never use that.
Yeah, but this one, with the perks, since they are part of the customization, the abilities that you can unlock, they actually have pretty big changes to gameplay for how well your force powers affect bigger enemies. Whether you're
talking the abilities that you acquire, or you're talking the perks,
abilities and perks. It
okay.
all it changes. It's ways to modify how the game works without doing it in that stupid way that so many other games have unfortunately fallen into the pits of doing.
Yeah. It's an easy trap to fall in. I agree with you on the abilities. The abilities, I would look in the skill trees and always be like, oh, I do want that. Oh, I do want to use that. I do want that new force power. I do want to be able to throw both my lightsabers at the same time. But the perks, which is a different subsystem where you have a limited number of perk slots. Perks will cost a different number of perk slots. Like, one might be 2, one might be 1 perk slot, one might be 3 perk slots. And you can increase the number of perk slots you have throughout the game. Those, I just kind of set it and forget it. So, like, I got the perk to, like, increase my XP or it was an XP boost, and I just put that on. I was like, yep, I'm doing that. And then I was like, sure, extra damage with the blaster. Why not? And then I just like, I don't even know if that's the second one that I have equipped. I don't know what else I have equipped. And then I just set it and I moved on because I was like, yeah, these are fine.
Sorry, just because I did answer the question when you asked it. As far as, my cow looks to him, I find the customizations funny, but I didn't really find a lot of the hair and facial hair stuff to be all that good, just because, for people that like to make their characters look goofy, I'm not a big fan of doing it myself, so I didn't really change much. I changed his hairstyle to the one that he had in the first game when he first got introduced, because I thought it was more interesting. But other than that, I kind of kept him as the game gives them to me when it first starts off with the light stubble.
The stubble. Yeah.
I will... I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. I do like the outfit customization, though. That's the other part of it. Similar to the lightsabers, you go around, you unlock the, pants, shirt, and the colors that they can be. Those are the ones you can find around the world. I'm a big fan of the Nomad outfit, but I changed kind of later on. That came with the game. I enjoy the Wanderer outfit, which is kind of just like a hood almost, and like a little bit of a half poncho on the back of them. Just fun little stuff like that.
I just recently unlocked the color customization for that outfit, so I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. I agree with you on the facial hair. I didn't see a lot of facial hair stuff that I was like, oh, that looks dope. Like, so for me, it was like either go like with the light stubble that he comes with in the game, go with the short beard, or go with the big beard. Like the goatees and the mustache and the short beard, like the only short goatee or whatever. All of those looked awful to me. Like, I really did not like any of the beard options on there, other than like stubble, short beard, big beard. I currently have, or I very early got the big beard, and I got the man bun. And I don't know why, but I like it. And I like the man bun, and I like the big beard. And I've had that from very early in the beginning, and I've kind of kept it the whole way through. And I keep looking through the options and going, is there anything here that I like better or that I want to switch it up with? And I keep going, no, I don't want to. And that might just be because of the character of Cal. This is 5 years after the last game, so he's been out running around doing his own thing. And so I kind of have this feeling of okay, he's a Jedi survivor. He's out there being hunted by the Empire. He doesn't have time to be well kept and keep his beard trim and his hair cut. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, he probably went fuck. At some point he made the choice, fuck it, bun, beard. That's what I am.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah, right. And that's just kind of what I like in terms of the outfit. I don't know the name of it. It's the. It's like a vest. There's like a vest. I have it colored yellow. It's like a vest with a scarf, and it has a nice little torn up scarf. That's what I have. And then his shirt comes is rolled up to past his elbow, and he's got bracers on his arms. And then the pants are, I believe they're called the commando pants, where the legs have the battle armor on it, but he's got a little sash hanging off his hip. That's sort of the one I've been looking at. And if you look at the B-roll that we're showing, you can see it on the podcast. But BD1, I don't know why, I pimped BD1 out. BD1 is this nice shiny purple metal with a nice gold trim to him, and my blaster is the same way. Wooden grip, purple, gold, all of that. My lightsaber, I'm a green guy. I love the green saber. It's
a great one.
It's just something to me. Lightsabers and green sabers are the best. I keep trying to bounce around, and I'm like, nah, man, I gotta go green. That's the one. I try to keep it wooden in base, so it's a wooden lightsaber. It took me a long time to find the wooden customization option, so I for a long time was rocking with just the starter wood palette. But since then, I've added some leather coatings to it. I've added some red metal on the grip and so forth. And the pieces, I could break those down too, but we'll be here all day talking about the different pieces that are on there. I'm just so happy with the customization in this game. I can't wait for New Game Plus so I can play the whole game with Cal looking like this, with my lightsaber looking like this, as opposed to in the early hours him being the default and then him going into this almost where I want him, like, but not quite because I just don't have all the pieces yet. And then the final part, like, is where I'm like, yeah, this is Cal Kestis to me. But it's also like a weird thing. I don't understand why they give us all this customization when they have clearly defined the character of Cal Kestis. There is no changing the character of Cal Kestis at all. Like, he is who he is. There's no dialogue options outside of like some moments where you can force trick people, which I think is just like flavor text because I've never failed a force like mind control thing. Never once have I failed that option, even though they give you a binary option of like what to tell them. Always works. So I'm like, all right, well then why did you give me the choice? Like, when there's no other choices in this game. But especially I want to commend the final third of the game. Narratively is where it really starts kicking up and getting really, really interesting. And they start playing with those Star Wars themes that I love that they play with. There's great character moments, big moments where, you know, things that I wasn't expecting to happen in this game happen in this game. And it was dope. It was really, really dope. The best boss fight happens in the later third of the game. Connor, how are you feeling on the difficulty of the game? What difficulty are you playing on, and how are you feeling about it?
Hard, and I'm happy I went hard because I don't think normal would be way too easy. Going through it because it's not. Like I said, certain parts can be difficult, especially the bosses. But outside of that, you know, if I were to go in normal, I'd just be clearing through everything, and I'd have no issue in any combat encounter whatsoever. Whereas on hard, I only occasionally, when there's certain enemy types compromising the enemy group that you're fighting against, that's when I start having issues with the game. Difficulty-wise.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I'm playing on hard. I believe they call it Jedi Master. I remember when Fallen Order came to PS5, I replayed that on Grandmaster, which was a difficulty they added later on, and it's here from the jump here. But I was like, you know what? I want to enjoy Jedi Survivor. I don't want to get my teeth kicked in. Overall, I don't think the difficulty is even that high on hard mode, on Jedi Master mode. You know, I would die every so often, occasionally. Rarely would I die to the smaller guys, the mobs, but sometimes I would. Boss fights, the beasts, again, were the only ones that I had trouble with because they're so much stronger, and their attack radius is so much larger. The more humanoid opponents, I didn't have that much trouble with. Outside of the best boss in the game who whooped my ass. And I'm so excited for you to get there, Connor. The best boss whooped my ass. But, like, the best boss is not the final boss. And the final boss fucking smoked him. Like, that was easy. And so, yeah, there were two humanoid fights that I had trouble with. And that took multiple attempts. Everyone else, never took more than 2 attempts. And most of them only took 1. But I do also kind of like that because it's a Star Wars story we're telling. When the best fight in the game, narratively, like, should be difficult. But because I kept dying and respawning and starting over and dying and respawning, I lost narrative momentum with that. So I guess that's why From Software games don't have a focus on story, because they want you to get your teeth kicked in and be stuck on a boss for a couple of days or whatever, you know? Whereas this, they want you to get to the end of the game. They do. They want you to see the credits.
So, this is not who the boss is. But it's a cool idea for a boss if they do a third game, which they might not even do because I have not beaten the game, which is Vader. But an action.
You just think it would be a cool fight?
Like I'm going to spoil the first game. Because if you're watching the review, I'm assuming you probably played it or at least have knowledge of it. Darth Vader's chase scene in the first one. It'd be nice if it comes around full scope and have you find him again, but on equal terms, and ultimately have you die. Cal Kestis dying, which would be kind of like a anticlimactic ending of like, oh, but realistic ending of the guy who goes around killing powerful Jedi and enemies is the one who does it again.
Vader should be that guy, and I mean, like Cal Kestis in the first one was so small potatoes that like. Yeah. He would not have appeared on Vader's radar. He just happened to, Vader just happened to find him on the final base or whatever. And I think even by the end of this game, I don't think Cal is quite to that power level yet where he would attract Vader. But I think by the end he's getting there. He's on his way. So I'm very interested to see where they take this third game and if Cal and Darth Vader are to meet again. You know, and so on and so forth. So I'm very excited for. I'm excited to continue exploring in Star Wars with this type of gameplay. I really like this gameplay, and there were many moments in the game that were high adrenaline moments. You know, it's no secret that Fallen Order was kind of a mismatch of a bunch of different types of games. It was a little bit Sekiro, it was a little bit Uncharted, it was a little bit Metroid Prime. This one, it's still all of those things, just improved, and everything kind of gels together a little better. But there were moments where I was like, shit, this is better than most Uncharted games. There were moments where I'm like, this is better than most Metroidvanias, you know?
And all they have to do is put Star Wars code on it, and you'll be panting like a dog.
No, there really is legitimate moments where I'm like, this is better than the inspirations they come from. Like,
no, yeah,
I don't think there's anything that gets better than a Sekiro or a FromSoft game. Like, I still think like we're still pining for that, but this is a good one. Like, of a Soulsborne game, this is a good one. Like, it's a good one. Certainly better than the last one in terms of like just timing of parries and general combat mechanics and so forth. How do you feel they made the decision to take the roll out? Cal doesn't roll; he just kind of dashes away twice. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is? Like, do you have any idea of why that could be? Or because you've played all the FromSoft games and I haven't, so I don't know.
Maybe it's to make its own identity and also to fit with the types of enemies that you're fighting against. Since maybe it wouldn't play out the same way if you rolled.
Yeah. Possibly. I remember the roll like being kind of janky in Fallen Order. So I wonder if there's something to it being a dash instead of a roll makes it better. Maybe because it's a little faster.
Yeah, I would think so, because you know, one thing that I actually would like the game to have more of is air movement, air attacks. Because you're a Jedi, you're jumping around, and it seems like there's lots of areas where they could, you know, make gameplay a lot more exciting, but I was, you know, kind of limited by doing those things.
Have you... I don't want to spoil it, but there's...
Skills?
There's skills that, like, they don't give you what you're looking for, but there's skills that hint more towards what you're talking about.
I've seen them, yeah.
Yeah.
Got them yet.
You haven't got them yet? Okay, yeah.
So I see them and I'm like, oh, they're not like that. They're not what I'm looking for, as you said. So I was.
There's no full-on like Devil May Cry, I'm in the air juggling dudes. There's never that. But like, you do have opportunities where enemies will go into the air and you can jump up and hit them and so forth. But yeah, it's nothing crazy like that. I like how the game didn't depower you from the last one. Cal is the same, pretty much. They've changed a few things around. You no longer have the slow ability just tied to a button press. It's now treated more like an ultimate ability from like Overwatch or something, where there's a meter that builds up and you use it, and instead of it working on one enemy, it works on everybody. It's like a like an area of effect thing that I really, really like, and that gets better as you go along as well. A lot of really cool tricks that they've added to like your first force push and force pull that are really fun to play with. One in particular in the stream, I'll spoil this. There's an ability you can get with force pull. You know, you can force pull a guy and bring him towards you and have him in your grip. If they have a gun as their weapon, like a minigun or a blaster or whatever, you can get an ability which allows you to force pull, hold them, and then turn him around and force him to shoot his comrades. And I love that ability so much. I do it all the time. I'm like, oh, you have a minigun? Great. Thank you. Like, everybody is dropping dead because of this. It's so great.
Turn their strengths against it.
There's some like little small, really small side activities in the game, which are neat. They're not like super great or engaging. You can take it or leave it, but I'm enjoying playing around with it. There's a little garden that you can run in and plant different seeds that you're finding across the world. It's fine. It's whatever. You kind of, huh?
It's for who wants it.
Yeah, right. Like there was an element of that in the original game, but like if you blinked, you missed it. It was a very small thing. And this one, it's expanded upon. You get to pick what plants and where you want them and how you want them. But you don't get a lot more than that, you know, other than just planting them. And you kind of set it and forget it. And as far as I can tell, there's no way to like edit them once you've put them down. Like, you can't take them out, which I think is weird, but, you know, whatever. There's a little, like, tactics minigame in the what is it called? The saloon, which is like your base. That you can
fun.
go in, and it's, you know, it wants to be, it's called Holo Tactics. It's their attempt at a Gwent type thing, where you have you start a round, and it's basically just putting the AI against the AI. Like, you're just watching the AI fight itself, but like, there will be multiple rounds. You have a certain number of points that you can use per round, and you can use them on any enemies you've defeated and scanned. So like, you'll start out with a real basic card set, but as you adventure through the world and scan dead enemies that you've defeated, those enemies get added to your deck, and you get to use them, and each enemy has a different number of points. And, you know, so like, a round will start, and it'll be like, oh, your opponent has a droid and 2 stormtroopers. Like, how do you want to tackle this? And you could counter that with your own stormtroopers, or any type of beasts, or any type of droids, anybody you fought along the way, dark troopers and so forth. Eventually it gets to the point where, like, after you've beaten a certain number of, like, beasts, and the point values start increasing to where you can start using those beasts, you just kind of spam those beasts and just throw them at them, and like, so forth. It's not like, you don't have to do a lot of thinking, but it's like a fun, like, action figures smash them together type experience, and it's cute. It's fine. There's enough. There are rewards for winning them, and I think that's enough to justify playing it.
Mm-hmm. A lot of RNG during those things.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. There's definitely times where I'm like, clearly this unit is stronger, but he lost because the AI didn't do the super move, or you know, the real basic units have grenades, and those grenades are the bane of my existence, because it'll destroy my units. But also, goddamn, the grenades in the main game are annoying as fuck as well.
At least you have a way to deal with it there.
Yeah, for sure, with a good, like, force push or whatever. Yeah. I love the Super Battle Droid, Connor. I don't know about you. I'm a big fan of the Super Battle Droid, and their inclusion in this game is great. They work just how you want them to. It's fantastic.
They're nice.
So yeah, you were using dual wield and crossguard. That's what you were all about. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I was. That. Yeah, I was blaster and dual wield. So but I'm seeing a lot of people be very diverse with their picks. Like, some people are the dual blade, which I do. I miss the dual blade just because the minigun guys you could take out a lot easier with the deflecting bullets. You can't do that with the other ones. God, and I really wanted to use the crossguard, but it's just too slow for me. I'm too vulnerable. I don't like how vulnerable I am. Even though the crossguard has the best defense, it just it just has other things going on. So, anyways, Connor, anything else you want to mention with our review here with Jedi Star Wars Survivor?
One thing, I'm a Star Wars lover.
Okay,
I'm a Star Wars fan. I like Star Wars, but I'm not a lover of it. For you, quick question for you, Tavin. Did you ever watch the Jenny Tarkovsky animated show back in the day?
The old Clone Wars joint? Yeah.
Once again, kind of a spoiler. You might want to skip ahead. Ravens.
Yeah, man!
That was the only time I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, as far as, like, Star Wars lore stuff happens, because I'm a big fan of that old Jenny Tarkovsky animation. And that, what was his name?
Oh, I don't think he had one. I think it was just the Hunter or something.
He was of the race that Ravis is, and it was cool to see that brought back. It even shocked me when he cut off his hand. I was like, oh, Ravis got injured. Yeah, and I was like, oh, he's injured.
Ravis gets his arms cut off a lot.
yeah, and when he fixed it, I was like, oh, he's that guy. He's that race of being.
Have you done his boss fight yet?
No.
Okay. All right.
Is he the best boss, Tavin?
No.
He's probably. Oh,
but he is the other boss that gave me trouble.
Oh,
in a good way.
Okay.
In a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way. So
that was just a really cool moment.
Yeah, I nerded out on that too, where I was like, oh, it's one of those guys. Cool. Nice reference. Clearly different. Clearly, like, we've changed how that species works. I think in the Clone Wars cartoon, it was like more supposed to be like a lab experiment or something. And this, it's like it's a full-on race of alien or whatever. But yeah, I really enjoyed seeing that in this game. I enjoyed seeing a lot in this game. I'm very happy with this game, and it's captured my heart And it's gonna, if it only ran better, that's my thing. If it only just ran better, frame rates, glitches, if all of that was minimized, and just general game performance was improved, this would be far and away one of my favorite games ever. But it's not, because of these reasons. And I'm excited for the finale of this trilogy. I'm excited for one more, like to just see what they do, see what happens, because I'm just curious as to, you know, I heard someone explain, if the first one is you becoming a Jedi Knight, this one is going from Jedi Knight to Jedi Master. And I'm excited where we push the boundaries in the next one and how we push the boundaries in the next one. I think it'd be interesting if, because now I'm just theorizing, and so light spoilers. So if you don't like, very light spoilers. So if you don't want any spoilers, click off, go away. 3, 2, 1. I'd be excited, Connor, in the future for, they have several hints in this game of like, Cal goes, man, everybody can fly but me. So I'm very interested if they're going to give him a jetpack in the future. If maybe there will be a stance where it's like he's dual pistols and jetpack like Bode is or something. I think that'd be really interesting. But yeah, I think there's, I still feel like Respawn, they did everything in this game that they wanted to do in the last game. And I still feel like they have ideas. They're still like, oh, but it would be cool if we could do this, but we don't have time for that right now. Like, whereas the last game I felt was like, this is all we could do. Like, we duct taped this bad boy together, and here you go. Hope you like it. This one, it definitely feels more like a complete vision. This one is much more like, here's all of the ideas we wanted to implement in the first one. Here, and some more. Here you go. There's one boss fight in particular that had me laughing so hard. And I was like, this is awesome. This is clearly like they had fun. Respawn had a lot of fun putting this game together.
Have I not gotten to that?
No, you have not gotten to that. Not yet. Almost. You're about to get, oh no, you haven't even fought Raves yet. No, you still got some time to go. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for our Star Wars Jedi Survivor review. Let us know down in the comments how you felt about Star Wars Jedi Survivor, how you felt about if you had any trouble with performance, glitches, bugs. Are you just waiting for patches to come out and playing it a little later, which is probably the smart thing to do. And what else are you excited for this year? Let us know. This is also going to be the end of the Two Penny Gamescast, which you can catch every Monday, 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@2pennygames, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. Watch us record them live at twitch.tv/2pennygames, 4 o'clock on Sundays, 4 o'clock Central Time, Sunday, we're running right up to 7 today. And then until next time, have a great time. And Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Thanks for watching.
Come on. Come on. All right, bye.